At the start of the new season, I did my championship predictions, and it's safe to say that even 11 games in, I look really quite stupid. So what I'm going to do is, being it's the international break, I'm going to really emphasise that. It's probably not a very wise move, but we're going to talk about it. So in the relegation zone, I had Derby County, Huddersfield Town and Preston. Not Preston, Peterborough. It begins with a P, so we're kind of there, even though it doesn't look or sound anything like Preston. So I got Derby, bang on correct, with a little bit of help from the EFL. Huddersfield looks ridiculous because they're actually 7th, and Peterborough are actually one place lower than where I predicted them. Looking at this from an unbiased point of view, because there's not many giveaways, I do support a team that's not particularly fond of Derby County. I actually thought they're doing quite well before their points deduction, given the fact they had 14 senior players and a transfer budget of £2.50 and a 12-bar. As for Huddersfield in 23rd, they're actually 7th. That really does sum up the championship in a complete nutshell, really. I think one of their main bonuses of why they've done so well is Sorban Thomas. We're all going to say his name. He's been absolutely fantastic so far this season. And it's probably a name that not many people would have been aware of at all when they signed him in January from Boreham Wood, a non-league side. So it is quite an incredible story of Sorban Thomas. He literally won the Player of the Month award in September. So keep an eye out for him. It did look at the start of the year, when they didn't win their first 2 games and one of them was a 5-1 defeat to Fulham, that they were going to have a season just like I predicted. But since then, my God, they went on one hell of a run. They had a bit of a blip, of course, against Forest, but other than that, they've been fantastic, really. And Peterborough in the relegation zone, let's be honest, it probably isn't that difficult to predict that kind of team to be in the relegation zone, but honestly, I do think there is hope for them, and there is definitely signs that they could get out of it, because their home form is going to be key, because they've got 8 points so far this season, and 7 of them will win at home. Of course, they need to work on their away form as well, but I think if they really make the most of their home form, and they rely on, of course, their quite incredible attacking set of players, Siriki Dembele, Clark Harris, Jack Marriott, those kind of players. I think if they do make the most of that, they could survive. I then had Hull City, Blackpool and Coventry. I can't wait to look back at the end of the season, because it's going to be even more embarrassing if these teams are still there by the end of the season. But Coventry will start with them in 19th. That is an absolute shambles, really, isn't it, putting them there the 3rd. But come on. It's not a dreadful prediction, but it annoys me, because I did an early championship prediction video as well as a final one. If you saw that, then fair play to you. And I put them in 14th, and for whatever reason, and I really don't know why, I dropped them off. I didn't even really state why. I cannot talk about Coventry, of course, without talking about Victor Gyökeres. Well, one of those. He has been incredible. 9 goals this season already, and we're only 11 games in. He was, of course, there last season, but this season he's just gone to a new level. And I really do think, of course, Coventry are really enjoying being back at their actual stadium, and I think that has made an impact. But they play some great football, but the championship will always be the championship. Losing 5-0 to Luton, then they go and beat Fulham 4-1. Blackpool have really surprised me, and I'm looking forward to watching them play Forest, of course, after the international break. So, keep an eye out for that vlog. It'll be a good one, that. The reason why I put them low down is because at the end of the day, they are a promoted side, and they are technically the weakest, being the playoff winner. But recently they've really picked up. They had a 3-0 defeat to Huddersfield, but since then they've won 3 of their last 4 matches. So they are definitely on the up, and 12th place, I think Blackpool fans will be more than happy with that. And it's worth pointing out they're the 2nd most informed team in the league currently, and Forest are 1st. So that game is going to be even more interesting. The 2 best teams on form. Hull in 21st isn't really a big surprise either, but given the fact that from the first day of the season when they scored 4 away at Preston, a great result, of course, to start the season, they didn't score a single goal from then until the 18th of September. It is quite a surprise that they're not in the relegation zone with that kind of record. I then put Bristol City in 18th, Preston in 17th, and Reading in 16th. We'll talk about Bristol first, actually in 9th place. A big surprise to me, because they ended last season horrifically, as we all know. They only signed about 3-4 players, and I've mentioned that a few times now. So fair play to Bristol, they've proven me wrong. They've got some great results along the way. Particularly what stands out to me, that win away at QPR in the last minute was very impressive. I think the form of Andreas Weimann is also key to why they're doing so well. Last season, in the whole of it, he only got 9 goals After 11 games this year, he's already got 4 goals. So, you know, if he's going to be on 4 after just 11, he could be on for a good year. Preston, I said 17th. They're actually 18th. It is no surprise at all to see them there. They had a dreadful start to the season, losing the first 3 games, and it looked like they were relegation fodder, quite frankly. But since then, to be fair to them, they have picked up. They had a spell where they drew 5 games in a row, which isn't that inspiring at all. I'm not going to lie, there's not really much else I can say apart from the fact that it just feels very stale at Preston right now. Not really much is happening, and it doesn't really feel like there's much direction at that club currently. Reading are actually 10th, and I did not expect that at all, given the fact that last year they obviously did so well, only just missing out on the playoffs. They lost a lot of key players as well. They've also got financial trouble like Derby have. I did not expect this at all, and fair play to them. They had a poor start to the season, but they have picked up recently, of course. Getting some good wins against Fulham in particular is what really stands out to me. I think their issue is quite clear, to be honest. They've scored 17 goals, which I think is a pretty decent return, but they've conceded 19. I then had Birmingham in 15th place. They're actually 16th. That's pretty much bang on. Blackburn in 14th. They're actually 8th. And Forest in 13th. Who are actually 17th. Now, of course, if I did this a few weeks ago, I'd look really, really stupid putting Forest that high. But thankfully, Stevie Cooper's here now, and he's making us play incredible. I didn't do a video for Birmingham, of course. I apologise for that, but that was biblical. And again, Birmingham in 15th a few weeks ago. That would have looked really stupid, but 4 defeats out of the last 5. The one they didn't lose was a 0-0 draw with Preston. I don't really know what's happening at Birmingham right now, and it's a shame because it did feel like there was quite a feel-good factor around that club for once. Finally, they could actually achieve something, but I think this meme kind of sums it up quite well. Blackburn, Ben Brereton Diaz is the reason why they're doing so well. Talk about stepping up when you lose your star player, because that's the reason why I put them down in 14th, and given the fact they shipped so many goals last year and they didn't really do much to actually improve their defence, I thought, well, that's going to cost them again surely, and they lost Adam Armstrong. But Ben Brereton has already got more goals than he had the entire of last season. He's got 10 goals. Last season he had 7 in the whole year. He's also the joint top scorer in the entire division with Alexander Mitrovic, again with 10 goals. The next 3, I had Barnsley in 12th, Millwall in 11th, and Swansea in 10th. I expected a drop off from Barnsley, and I think everyone did. And I'm not going to say I'm surprised to see them in the relegation zone, but at the same time I didn't think it would be this dramatic. But it isn't really a surprise when you sell Alex Murray for nothing. Darrell Dyke goes. Also, Connor Chaplin went as well. The manager, Ishmael. The CEO, Dave Murphy. That is a lot of key personnel that's no longer here. So it's no surprise to see them drop off. But there's still quite a lot of quality in that team. They've still got Callum Stiles. They've still got Corley Woodrow. So they should be doing better, really. But I don't really see where the next win's coming from for Barnsley, because they looked hopeless against Forest. They didn't really, you know, even in the first half of that game when Barnsley, as I said in my vlog, Barnsley had a lot of the ball in that first half, and apart from the penalty they scored, I was never ever truly scared that they were going to score. And that's not me being arrogant. I generally didn't think, oh, here we go, they're going to score here. I wasn't really scared. Millwall have been the draw experts so far this season. If they could have just turned a few more of those into wins, they would have been even higher than 11th, and I think 11th is roughly where you expect Millwall to be. But just imagine if they got a few goals more, or they haven't conceded so many. They've drawn most of them 1-1 as well, funnily enough. Obviously one of them against Forest. And Swansea, it's the classic playoff hangover, just like we're seeing with Lincoln in League One. They both dropped off after losing the playoff final. Loads of big names gone out the door, just like with Barnsley, and it's affecting them big time. The only real bonus is Joel Perlo. No, it's definitely not Perlo. Joel Perlo. That lad they signed, that Spanish striker, him. Tristan, can you correct me if you're watching, please? They've drawn 4 games 0-0. You know, it's really, really quite underwhelming at Swansea, and I just think they're going to have another very similar season to what Forest did last year. They miss out on promotion, and then they just have a very, very average year. So in 9th, I put Luton Town. They're actually 13th. 8th, I put Stoke, who are actually 4th. And in 7th, I put Middlesbrough, who are actually in 15th place. There's not really much I can say about Luton, apart from the fact that they've been inconsistent, really. They've lost 5-0 at home this season to Birmingham. and they've also won 5-0. And they've also bottled a 3-goal lead to Swansea. So it's been a really interesting start to the season for Luton, and I think they probably will finish a little bit higher than 13th, because they are a good team and they are slowly but surely really settling into the Championship, because there's no way they'll get relegated. They look really comfortable nowadays, but I can't really say much more apart from the fact they've been inconsistent. From Stoke's point of view, 4th would be incredibly pleasing. It looks like maybe they could have a year of actually maybe achieving something rather than just being below mid-table, because this is the reason why I and so many people were reluctant to put them in the playoffs or even the top 10. Obviously I went for that and put them in 8th place, because every year we've predicted them to finish in the playoffs, even win the league title. I've seen some people put them in the first few seasons and they've not even got the top half. So this is why we're reluctant. They've looked great as well. Some of the football they've been playing, they got against Forest. I'm not just saying that because it was against Forest, but honestly, it was a great goal. The build up to that, it was a really good finish from Josh Tymon, and then the goal they scored against West Brom the other day, a really good chip over the goalkeeper from Nick Powell. It does feel like Stoke finally could be in for a good year. If they can beat West Brom, they can end West Brom's unbeaten start, then it could be their year maybe. And Middlesbrough, Neil Warnock, what is going on with that club? I'm not sure, because that team is massively underperforming. I've seen a lot of Borough fans want Neil Warnock out, and I like Neil Warnock, but the fact that you want a manager of his calibre gone says a lot about the state of Borough, and it just appears like that club's not really going in a direction. A bit like Forest really, they want promotion but it isn't quite clicking. And I don't watch Borough religiously, okay, of course I don't, even though I do watch an awful lot of the Championship, but how on earth can you be loaning out Jed Spence? Because he's been absolutely fantastic for us. You're playing Lee Plyton ahead of him and Dyke still, you know. I'm not saying they're bad players, but Jed Spence can't be any worse than them. It's a really strange move. Apparently it was to do with his attitude problems, but I'm not saying that's not true, but it just seems very, very strange really. And I thought they had a pretty decent start to the season. They got some good results as well, but of late, losing to Blackpool at home, then they beat Sheffield United, in form Sheffield United, and they lose to Hull. To the playoffs, I had Cardiff, QPR, Sheffield United and Bournemouth. Cardiff have been absolutely diabolical of late. They were doing relatively well towards the start, only not that impressive at the same time, just average. But of late, 5 defeats in a row, and they've conceded a lot of goals in the process. They lost 5-1 to Blackburn, 4-0 at home to, not MK Dons. I mean, it's just a 3-letter abbreviation, I suppose, but it's West Brom. Why did I say MK Dons? They're not even in the same division. They lost 4-0 at home to West Brom, though. But still, it is really quite concerning if you're a Cardiff fan. If you are a Cardiff fan watching this, what do you think's gone wrong? And is it time for Mick McCarthy to go? You know, is he the wrong man, or is it the players? Let me know. QPR, they're actually one position lower than this, apart from that little blip where they lost 3 in a row to Bournemouth, Bristol, and of course West Brom. They've been really impressive, and they're doing well at the Championship as well, into the League Cup quarterfinals, is it? I think it's the quarterfinals, so they're doing really well. I think it might actually be the round of 16, but it's still impressive from a QPR point of view, and I do think they will get the playoffs the way they're going. They've got some great players in that team. Sheffield United, the start of the year, they were looking like they were going to be on for back-to-back relegations the way they were playing, but of course different from the Premier League. Obviously they would never dominate possession and have tons of shots in the top flight, but in this case they were, but it wasn't paying off. And that game against Huddersfield, where they lost at home, summed up their problem. They had countless efforts on goal. They ended up getting a 90th minute equaliser, only to then go and concede in the 90th minute and lose the game. So that summed up the start to the season that they had. Since then, they had that incredible 6-2 victory against Peterborough, and that really sparked them into life. A huge amount of confidence would have got from that. The loan signing of Morgan Gibbs-White as well. And let's face it, that team, it should be doing streets better than what it is doing. 14th at this stage, even now, it should be higher than that. They lost to Bournemouth at the weekend, but it is a fair team to go down to, of course. And you know what? Speaking of Bournemouth, I put them 3rd. I think I was reluctant to put them in the top 2 just simply because of the strength of West Brom and Fulham, but by no means at all am I surprised to see them first. They're the only team now unbeaten in the division. And I want to point out Bournemouth's left back, Jordan Zamora. He only played 2 games last season in the Championship. He wasn't even loaned out or anything, by the way. didn't play. He was one of the youth players. This season, he has played every single minute of the Championship so far. And he's already got 2 goals as well from left back against Barnsley. I really love it when a player just comes out of nowhere, especially when, you know, they were already at the club and they just start, you know, making it their own in that position. So fair play to them, and that is the reason why Bournemouth are doing so well. And of course the top 2 were West Brom and Fulham. West Brom, they had a little spell, of course, where they had those 3 games where they were, you know, drawing to teams they should have really beaten in Millwall, Derby and Preston. But other than that, they've been exactly what we expected them to be. And we have to mention Daniel Furlong. Like, his throwing ability is absolutely ridiculous. The amount of times I watch West Brom and he's just throwing a ball from nowhere near the box into the box, it is phenomenal how he does that. Fulham, they've had a few slip-ups, of course, against, you know, the likes of Reading and Blackpool, and obviously at the weekend, in fact, losing 4-1 to Coventry. But other than that, they have been fantastic. They are the top scoring team in the division with 23 goals already, but they have also conceded the second most goals in the top 6 behind QPR. So that is probably why they're not quite first. Obviously, like we've already said, Mitrovic is the joint top scorer in the league with Ben Brereton Diaz with 10 goals. He, again, is coming to life in the Championship. I think Fulham will be pretty happy with this, though. Like, 5th, yeah, of course they're going to want the top 2. They're going to want to win it with the squad that they've got. Of course, they have had Fabio Carvalho injured as well this season at times, which is not going to help them out at all. But I think Fulham and West Brom will still go up, and I do think Bournemouth will. It's a bit boring, but I think that will be the teams that do go up. So that is my reaction to my Championship predictions at the start of the season. Of course, a very early reaction after this 11 games. I most likely will do another one at the halfway stage, and definitely at the very end of the season. If you have enjoyed this video, of course, please drop a like on it. It is massively appreciated. And please subscribe to the channel, because we are less than 50 away now from 2,000, which really would be so good if you could get that.